Before we go, Donald Trump suing CNN. What did you make of that one?
Well, good. I mean, CNN shouldn't even exist. They recently got rid of my favorite broadcaster, Brian Stelter. You know, poor guy, even though I'm sure he's eating his mashed potatoes right now for breakfast. He's doing fine.
Entire media companies essentially exist to tear down Joe Biden. Is there an equivalent to that on the left, tearing down Trump?
You know, even if he doesn't win, the news is fake. But with CNN, they are the most dishonest news organization to ever exist, so they deserve to be sued.
Trump is as destructive a person in this century as Hitler, Stalin, and Mao were in the last century. He may be responsible for many more million deaths than they were. It's crazy to be destroying our democracy by claiming that the press and the courts are the enemy of the people.
We should scare these media companies into telling the truth, because everything is biased, everything is skewed, and because of that, because of the trauma-based mind control they use to scare the population, it makes a society that is not doing too great. So people like CNN got to go, in my opinion.
We don't see CNN or the New York Times rooting for any president, whether a Democrat or Republican.
And let's say one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic. I used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Andy knows this.
And I realized I lived in a neighborhood where I'd turn on the television and I'd see and listen to Dr. King and others. But I didn't know any black people.
Before I went to the black church.
But I didn't know any black people. No, I really didn't.
I grew up as a young man, spent a lot of time in the African American church in my state. I sort of got my political start at Del State.
HBCUs. I got started out of an HBCU, Delaware State. Now, I don't want to hear anything negative about Delaware State here.
I didn't go to Del State, but my heart's with you, man, so don't let me down.
Well, I got my education, Reverend Doc, in the black church. Not a joke.
Like I've said many times, Delaware State brung me to the dance, as this. And that's as a kid I got started in the civil rights movement and spent a lot of time organizing in the black church. And
I got to admit to you, I'd go to my Catholic Mass at 7:30 first, and then I'd show up in the black church. But I didn't know any black people. No, I really didn't. You didn't know any white people either. That's the truth.
I got raised in the black church. He knows I'm not kidding.
I got my education for real in the black church. And that's not hyperbole, it's a fact.
Is the president a 79-year-old white man born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania? Or is he in fact black?
I grew up as a young man, spent a lot of time in the African American church in my state.
Well, I got my education in the black church, not a joke. I got to admit to you, I'd go to my Catholic Mass at 7:30 first, and then I'd show up in the black church. I got my education for real in the black church. I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home politically. And so we came here for a long time.
Now Biden is a Puerto Rican.
Pandering. This is political pandering.
The lies from lying about getting arrested for protesting for civil rights.
Joe Biden has been in Congress for 1,000 years. He doesn't hardly know any Puerto Ricans, but you know, these people, that's the problem. It's all projection. It's all about race. It's all about sex. It's all about some sort of, affirmative action that they're trying to appeal to the minorities or the marginalized people, when it's all lies. And Joe Biden is one of the biggest propagators of lies in United States history.
I probably went to shul more than many of you did. You all think I'm kidding. He can tell you I'm not.
He lied to voters, according to the New York Times, quoting aides of Biden's, about having marched in the civil rights movement. This is Biden making this false claim in 1987.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I did not march with a 12-point program. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
When I was 17 years old, like many of you, I participated in sit-ins to desegregate the restaurants and movie houses of Wilmington, Delaware.
I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
And the New York Times reports, quote, more than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood. He kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
During the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware.
But I didn't know any black people. No, I really didn't.
I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
As we reported so many times in the past 2 years, President Joe Biden seems incapable of telling the truth.
And that's not hyperbole, it's a fact. David Duke said, and I quote, "That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he was going to take our country back."
So, folks, it's time to take back America, as was said.
He's pandering. This is political pandering.
And I quote, "That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he was going to take our country back." Get the hell up and take back the country.
When you hear take our country back, well, what do you mean take our country back?
But we can take our country back with a democratic agenda for the people.
If I'm elected president, you're going to see the single most important thing that changes in America is we're going to cure cancer. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains. Look, everybody's entitled to be an idiot. But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. A black man invented the light bulb, not a white guy named Edison. No.
You know, this stumbling and bumbling, I think that, you know, there's wandering around the stage and there's nobody there to shake hands with. Maybe he thought at some point this would benefit him. Or, you know, the lion, it's not cute bragging about being, I was a star football player.
Yeah. But I was runner-up the state scoring championship here in football. I wasn't bad either.
Truck driver, and I grew up in a Puerto Rican community.
And New York sent not only a congresswoman, the most congresswoman in the Congress, but the state troopers and emergency responders.
Now, in case you missed that, the president said, and I quote, these are his precise words, New York sent not only a congresswoman, one of the most congresswomen in the Congress.
And New York sent not only a congresswoman, the most congresswoman in the Congress.
Well, you can't get any more clear than that, can you?
Over.